This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out, Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans, and this is 743rd episode. Make sure you check us out, markinout.com. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and wherever else you're listening to your podcast. Check us out also on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating to go with that 5-star frog splash. Also, like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at MarkinOut11, Twitter at MarkinOut, and on TikTok at MarkinOut. Buy a t-shirt, ProWrestlingTees.com/MarkinOut. You can follow me on social media platforms. That is right, it is David. David PTDPT. You can follow Chris at Chris Swingdog and CM Sweeney85. And you can follow Brandon at BTTG161. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah. How was your week?
Okay, why did you sing Disco Inferno's theme song?
Hey, sometimes you just gotta break into that dance. If you know, you know.
I don't know. How was your week?
My week was good. It was good.
No, you don't have to
And
break
yours?
out into song and dance. Mine was fine.
Well, it's just unfortunate we don't record YouTube video on here and you can't see me doing the dance.
I mean, you could record a TikTok if you want to dance so bad.
I mean, I may have to.
You should. You should TikTok a dance or so.
I may have to. May have to happen that way.
But I'm very happy that there was a lot less wrestling this week. Or I shouldn't say a lot less because you still had... It was the normal amount of wrestling. That's what I should say. And I'm happy about that because the WrestleMania week was almost unforgiving. So, outside of that, what'd you do? Anything fun?
This week? No, I worked. I
thought you did fun stuff.
No, I'm not that much of a fun person.
Didn't you go to the Masters or something? When was that? Months ago?
No, that was years ago. I think that was back when...
You actually went to the Masters?
Yeah, that was back in like 1972.
No, but did you actually ever go to the Masters or no?
No.
Oh.
Never. How about you? You ever go?
No, the most I've done with golf is mini.
Yeah.
And I've seen I've played not played.
You've seen things.
The term? No, you go to the driving range. That's what I've done. Mini golf and driving ranges.
You've played mini golf.
Yeah, many times.
Yeah.
I might have had like one hole in one in my lifetime. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like those odds are against me.
Hey, as legend Justin Bieber says, never say never, though.
Well,
but
should we move over?
Yeah,
to
let's talk about
talk?
that pro wrestling. Starting off with Monday Night Raw. You had Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Paul Heyman kicking off Monday Night Raw. Pretty much breaking down exactly what they're going to be doing over there.
Yeah, they just haven't officially made it official, I guess. They're together, but they didn't say they're necessarily together. It was just Seth Rollins said that Braun Breaker is the future.
Mm-hmm.
And the future of the industry runs through him. It doesn't run through Jey Uso. It doesn't run through CM Punk, Roman Reigns, John Cena. And then Sami Zayn came out and basically said this group is garbage. And he brought up Paul Heyman and questioned how Seth Rollins is different than Roman Reigns and CM Punk now that he's aligned himself with Paul Heyman. And Seth Rollins said that Sami's either with them or he's a target, and he doesn't want Sami to be a target. Seth Rollins said that he could get Sami Zayn moved off of Monday Night Raw, which I will say I think an NXT run right now with Sami Zayn would be dope. But Seth Rollins didn't mention NXT, and he said that he wants answers by the end of the night. And then later on, Paul Heyman spoke to Sami Zayn. And he spoke about them two being original Bloodline members. And he also said that Braun Breaker is demanding a match with Sami Zayn. But that offer from Seth Rollins is going to be a pass for him. If he accepts a trade to SmackDown, Sami will then go on to face the winner of John Cena versus Randy Orton. Do you not think, go to SmackDown and take that opportunity?
I think that would have been a great opportunity for him. Head on over to SmackDown. I mean, come on, get out of town. Be safe. You're not going to be able to.
You're not. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do anything with that group. But Karrion Kross spoke to Sami Zayn. I hope there's something that will happen with Sami Zayn. But I'll put a pin in that.
Hey, it's so hard to predict because anywhere that you have Karrion Kross lingering, something's about to happen.
Could that mean Sami Zayn perhaps joins them, or probably not?
Time will tell. But next up, you had Rhea Ripley pick up the victory over Roxanne Perez, but it was by DQ. Disqualification.
I thought this was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Roxanne Perez worked Rhea Ripley's leg throughout the match.
Yes, and it was definitely a good showing for Roxanne Perez on Monday Night Raw. It was great exposure for her, and I'm glad that she was able to get a little bit of advantage over Rhea Ripley, especially when working the leg. I mean, being of the smaller stature, Roxanne Perez taking out the leg, very smart move, I'd say.
You know what I will say about last week, her appearance on Monday Night Raw, that really pisses me off? You know how Topps announced they're doing debut patches for when a superstar makes their debut on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown?
I saw that they started doing it. You don't like it?
Roxanne Perez has one, and she's made her debut years ago.
Oh, true.
That's goofy to me. But Giulia, on the other hand, who actually did for the first time show up on Monday Night Raw last week, that would make sense.
No.
But Giulia showed up again this week. That was where the DQ came from, basically. Rhea Ripley took her eyes off of Giulia, and Giulia attacked Rhea Ripley. Io ran out to make the save, but both of them got the better of Io, and then they escaped before Rhea Ripley could come back. So I'm liking this. I mean, as of right now, I'm liking the pairing of Roxanne Perez and Giulia. I think there was an off-air segment that ran with Io and in Rhea Ripley where Io said she didn't need Rhea's help. I mean, vice versa. Rhea said she didn't need Io's help.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting, but now I wouldn't bring them back over to NXT, though. Like, if you're going to have them on Monday Night Raw, I wouldn't bring them. Like, NXT is so fully stacked in that women's division. You do not need. I feel like to have so many is going to be dangerous to have so many people down there. I think that now that you have Giulia and Roxanne Perez on Monday Night Raw, multiple occasions, it's been the past 2 weeks, I think, right?
Yeah. That
they've been making appearances.
But this did happen. This did happen in 2015 when they called all the women up. You had Sasha Banks versus Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn.
True.
And then you had it again at the following event. So it's not like it's not out of the norm, but I do think that's why, like, not to skip forward, but that match that's taking place with Giulia, shouldn't she just be on Monday Night Raw? I don't think it's necessary to have to do that angle. Like, I don't unless that's just going to put the end to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we'll talk more about that in a second. You had Logan Paul come out, and he put Jey Uso on notice. Jey Uso came out, and he said that if Logan Paul wants it, come take it. And Logan said that he's done more than Jey Uso's done in 3 years than Jay's done in 15 years. And he's basically said he's going to take the championship from Jey Uso at Backlash.
I thought it was a good promo.
Yeah, this was a good back and forth there. And he also knocked Jey Uso out backstage afterwards when Jey spoke to Sami Zayn as well.
Once he got... I thought that was a smooth transition. Like where Jey was just talking, giving his advice to Sami Zayn. And then like once Sami Zayn walked away, just bam. Logan Paul knocked him right out. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah. After that, you saw the War Raiders pick up the victory over Finn Balor and JD McDonough. JD McDonough got this match made for them, and Liv Morgan was supposed to tell Finn Balor. She didn't tell Finn Balor. We also know that Liv Morgan is not going to be on TV in May, that she's off to Japan, I think, to film... Is it a made-for-TV show movie sort of thing?
I think it's just a straight-up movie.
But I think it's airing on TV in Japan.
Oh. I don't know. I'll be there later on this month. I'll let you know.
I mean, I don't think you're going to... I don't think it's not a soap opera. It's not filming tomorrow and airing next week or so.
Yeah, that'd be something else. Yeah, quite the disappointment with that movie announcement, though. I mean, very happy for her, but I feel like maybe they hyped it up a lot, though.
I don't know. Apparently, the guy's a pretty big deal, the director.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Everyone thought it was going to be Gwen Stacy, and then they said it's not a superhero movie.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, everybody moved to, you saw Narnia, Lord of the Rings were suggestions, but this, yeah. So it's good, though. At least she's getting out there, and there's other famous people in the movie, so.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got the starring, I guess it would be technically a starring role. She's the one in the main four, so. Or main three, I'm not sure.
Hey,
but as far as this match, War Raiders, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, New Day was out there on commentary. And I think it was just ultimately a way to continue the War Raiders with New Day, as well as teasing problems with Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. You saw
it's hard to see what's going to happen next with Judgment Day and Finn Balor's aspect. I mean, it's bound that Finn Balor's going to leave them, no? Or get kicked out of it.
It seems like that.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Ivar throw Finn Balor at one point into New Day, and then he squashed all three of them. Carlito tried to get involved. He wants a championship, by the way. I don't know what championship Carlito could possibly go after. But he tried to get involved. Eric took him out. It almost cost Eric the match. But Penta showed up on the commentary table. I think it was maybe not on the commentary table. I just remember him dancing on the commentary table after the fact. But he knocked JD McDonough off the top rope. And then the War Raiders hit War Machine to pick up that victory.
Which I'm happy. I'm happy that War Raiders were able to pick up the victory because I can't see them on a losing streak. Especially
but
considering
also
that they're trying to be powerhouses.
Back-to-back interference matches.
True. Next up, you had Yeah, I know. Next up, you had Becky Lynch cutting a hot promo on who took out Bayley and reveals that it was her. It was her. She took out Bayley and she did her Bayley impressions, pretty much making her sound very, very whiny and complainy. And
it's a bit lazy of a storyline.
Yeah, I kind of don't understand.
Now that we know it was Becky Lynch who took out Bayley, that's a very lazy storyline because they literally just did that with Naomi and Jade Cargill.
True.
And
very true.
The whole culmination of that match took place at WrestleMania. This started WrestleMania. It's the same thing.
It just doesn't make sense.
Well, Becky's, part of it, them doing it makes no sense. I understand some of the storyline that they're selling us. Like Becky Lynch mentioned that Lyra is the friend of her enemy, which makes Lyra her enemy. That makes sense to me. But Lyra came out and she said so many people warned her about Becky Lynch. I think she even said Bayley warned her about Becky Lynch, but she wasn't buying it. She had these ideas of two hometown women from Ireland winning the tag team championships. And Becky turned her back on Lyra. And Lyra went to the ring. Becky walked off when Lyra got into the ring. And Lyra brought up beating Becky Lynch for that NXT championship. And how Becky Lynch said that she only fights when it matters. Lyra said Backlash is where she's going to... If that's what the deal is, then Backlash it'll be. She'll put the title on the line because she assumes Becky will want that. And that'll be the only way that Becky will fight her. And then Lyra ends up fighting Becky Lynch and until Becky Lynch ran off.
I just don't understand why. I don't understand. I don't know. I still need justification as to why replace Bayley with Becky for WrestleMania the day of.
Well, that's storyline wise. That's not what we're talking about. I guess we won't get that answer.
I know
until years from now.
Yeah, I think the non-storyline wise is what bothers me the most because of everything. Mm-hmm. Unless it's
like I said when we were talking about WrestleMania, like if there was any other way that this return happened, I would have been happy with it. But because they took out Bayley to put Becky Lynch in that spot, how am I supposed to be happy? Mm-hmm. It's just it's not what I wanted from that match.
I agree. And then you also have everybody. She was on the CVV podcast, and she was saying how her injury was actually a lot worse than what people thought, and that the entire story about her injury isn't really out there. So maybe it has to do with a lingering injury, but
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunate, though.
When Lyra got up to the entrance to raise her championship after Becky Lynch had run off, Becky attacked her from behind. I think everybody could have seen that from a million miles away.
Yeah. Very. I think the signs were there.
After that, Stephanie Vaquer picked up the victory over Ivy Nile. Before the match, you saw Chad Gable backstage taunting Penta, and Penta kicked him to the ground. This backstage segment, I think, might have been the first mention on TV, WWTV, of the Lucha Bros. By name, at least.
It definitely was the first mention of Lucha Bros, and definitely didn't expect him to say Pendejo on TV.
So you repeated here?
Yeah. I was surprised.
As far as Stephanie Vaquer and Ivy Nile go, I thought this was a good match. I liked when Ivy at one point reversed the Devil's Kiss and all the fans booed, and then obviously Stephanie Vaquer is going to hit it. Fans went absolutely nuts for it. And I have to wonder if that's like a Booker T effect. If Booker T was the one that really got that move over or what. Mm-hmm. She hit that twice in this match. Fans were going absolutely bananas for it.
Yeah, that move is just so over right now. I don't know if it has to do with... Which is crazy,
because anybody else we've seen do it, it's like, it's not so great. Mm-hmm. Well, then she does it. Booker T goes absolutely nuts. And I'm not saying that when Vaquer does it, it doesn't look good, because so far we've seen it, it looks good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The move looks like it's doing something to the opponent. Mm-hmm. But for the fans reacting that way, I question whether or not it was Booker T's doing.
I think sometimes it's a hard sell on the move. I feel like when I start to see them slapping the mat a little bit too much, it gets a little bit much.
But Ivy Nile, she wasn't, if I remember correctly, I don't think she was even slapping the mat, though. She was just like head on mat.
No. Yeah, I thought that was okay.
This match again had outside interference. You had Chad Gable get Ivy Nile's leg up on the rope to break a pin, and Stephanie Vaquer got in his face. She ends up eating a German suplex from Ivy Nile. They continued, and Ivy ends up reversing the SVB. She hit a DDT onto Vaquer from that, but Vaquer ends up working on Ivy Nile's leg, and finishes the match with the SVB.
Yeah. I think that Ivy Nile continues to stand out, showing her talents and skills. And I think that her being paired with Stephanie Vicaire, it was solid booking.
Yeah. I've known Ivy Nile since before she was in WWE, so I'm happy that she's succeeding in WWE.
Mm-hmm. Next up, you had Pat McAfee cutting one hell of a promo on the from the announcer, from the commentators table. Well, on top of it.
Yeah, he said that he hopes, he basically spoke about what he hopes people will say about him when he's dead. And he mentioned how he's loyal, especially to Michael Cole. He called out Nick Aldis, who was filling in for Adam Pearce. And he said he wants that ban on Gunther lifted so he could fight Gunther. And Nick Aldis said, I could lift the ban if it's a sanctioned match at Backlash, which obviously Pat McAfee accepted. Everyone on the internet is like, this is the worst thing to ever happen to pro wrestling.
Why?
I think people don't like Pat McAfee, especially because he's involved with that lawsuit right now, which I understand. But as far as like as a wrestler, I think he's fantastic in the ring, and I'm looking forward to seeing Pat McAfee versus Gunther and seeing what they can do together. It also seems like this is where Goldberg will be entering. I would be surprised if we don't see Goldberg.
Yeah, I thought that this promo was fantastic. He pretty much stated the importance of him standing up for Michael Cole, the intimidation factor, him passing out. I thought that he did a great job on the promo. I saw some people saying that this was like one of the top 20 promos of all time, though. Like Tommy Dreamer said that on Busted Open and stuff, and I like rolled my eyes.
It's possible. I'd have to go through the list of what people are saying, but I thought it was very enjoyable.
It was enjoyable, but I definitely rolled my eyes so far deep when somebody said that this was in the top 20. That's a bit
somebody.
extreme.
You said Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, Tommy. I'm disagreeing with Tommy Dreamer. I thought that it was a great promo, but top 20, come on.
I'd have to know what other promos he's talking about.
Yeah, but definitely solid, and I'm glad we're going to get McAfee.
SummerSlam's coming up. I think we could possibly see Gunther versus Goldberg at SummerSlam. MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
But after that, what I thought was, it was very confusing at this moment. Seth Rollins came out to talk to Sami Zayn. I thought this was closing Monday Night Raw. And Seth spoke about their history together, their personal history. And he basically said, take that pass to SmackDown, please. Because if you stay on Monday Night Raw and you don't believe in what we're doing, bad things are going to happen. And Sami Zayn said when it comes to the stuff that Seth Rollins is saying, it seems like Seth is playing games. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that he hasn't been able to do to get really is now being dangled in front of him. That WWE Championship. He's wanted that for many years now. And Sami said he's never been one to run away from anything. And he knows Seth is threatening him. He's not going to be threatened by Seth Rollins. He will win the WWE Championship, but when he does, it'll be because of himself. Not a favor from anybody. Sami should have taken the deal. He should have taken that.
Really should have considered his options on this one.
Storyline wise, I don't think he wouldn't have stood a chance against John Cena, but I would have very much so I don't know how they would have worked the match, but I think I would have, if they went back to how they previously wrestled, I think a Sami Zayn versus John Cena match would have been fun. Again.
I would be okay with it.
Braun Breaker came out after Sami Zayn told Seth Rollins to go to hell, and we had our main event.
I do like the entrance for this. Like, once Sami Zayn said no and everything, you saw Seth Rollins' reaction, but like he closes his eyes like in disappointment, and then once he closes his eyes in disappointment, the theme song hits, and like you hear the sirens go off. I feel like the cue and the visual of it was really awesome.
And then Braun Breaker
Yeah, him beating Sami Zayn, but it was by ref stoppage from a ton of spears. Rocking him.
Yeah, Braun Breaker hit 2 spears, and Seth Rollins again was like, it doesn't have to be like this. Still basically trying to get Sami Zayn to take the deal, and Sami again told him to go to hell and ate a 3rd spear, and that's when the referees called for the medics to check on him. Seth Rollins did the very, very famous throat slit.
Mm-hmm.
Braun Breaker took Sami Zayn out again, and Seth said this is Braun Breaker's first lesson. Sami made his bed, and Seth Rollins ended Monday Night Raw with a stomp to Sami.
And it was one of those things where you're just watching, you're like, stay down, Sami. Stay down. And he does that role very, very well, Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
Where he just takes a beating and he's just like, this guy has to stay down. But, hey, he didn't. And like you said, he got that curb stomp to finish it off.
So that's Monday Night Raw. Moving over to NXT, which opened with Joe Hendry.
What I liked is how the commentary said this right away. And, like, they said his name. And right away, boom, he appeared.
Yeah. And he mentioned his match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania. He spoke about TNA Rebellion and how he retained his championship. But after TNA Rebellion, after he won that match, the end of the show, Trick Williams showed up and attacked him. And he said Trick can't stand that people were talking about him and not Trick. Trick needs that spotlight. He called Trick out, but it wasn't Trick Williams, it was Dark State. And they absolutely obliterated Joe Hendry.
What's your thought about that? TNA champion just got obliterated. Do you think that's like... Do you think that should have happened like that?
I mean, it's leading to a match, so...
True.
And then later on, Trick Williams said that Joe Hendry doesn't belong there. He hyped up his upcoming appearance on a CW TV show. And they said he wants his title back from Obafemi. And Ava came out. And Trick said he's bigger than NXT. And then Ava announced a 25-man battle royal for next week. So if Trick wants that number 1 contender slot, go out and earn it. The battle royal... It doesn't seem like there are many believable people in it to win.
Mm-hmm.
There are talent from Evolve. There are guys from LFG in it, which we saw Obafemi interviewed later on. Undertaker showed up, and he's like, it's your yard now, but I have some guys from LFG coming for him soon. So... it doesn't seem like anybody in that match could win except for Trick Williams.
Yeah, I can't see... It just wouldn't make sense for anybody else to go over besides Trick Williams, especially the competitors from like LFG and stuff like that. It's great that they're getting airtime and stuff, but it's Trick.
Yeah.
You know? Next up, you had Ricky Saints pick up the victory over Lexis King to retain... solid matchup, and I gotta say, there was that one point where I believe Ricky Saints hit that swinging DDT on Lexis King, and it just looks so good.
Tornado?
Yeah, tornado DDT.
Lexis King got this match started right away. He didn't even let Saints get his vest off.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricky Saints held the ring, even with his vest on. And as far as the match goes, not really much to the actual match. You knew Ricky Saints was winning. I don't think anybody thought Lexis King was walking out with the North American Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, though, since it's connected kind of via the Heritage Cup, Metaphor celebrated that Noam Dar has the cup now, but Lash Legend said that they need to talk, and a lot has changed since Noam Dar has been gone. And then suggested that all 4 of them go their own way to find success.
Brandon, walk me through that promo.
In what?
Walk me through.
In what world? In what world? Like, none of that makes sense to me.
Hold nothing back. Walk me through what you felt. What kind of emotions went through your mind?
Still inside of me, I am confused. I'm hurt. It doesn't make any sense. Even the fact that the Meta Girls are splitting up, how does that make sense? Like, are they not over as a group? Not that we've seen that in a long time, but are they not over as a tag team?
I agree. I think that they are full. I mean, you have Noam Dar just returning, and so over all of them. And what really confuses me is the separation of the tag team. I mean,
they're working TNA shows and everything. Like, in what world? We've never seen Jakara Jackson as a singles competitor, but in what world are they splitting this group up like that?
Exactly. Jackson and Legend were doing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. They even had a match on SmackDown too, right?
Yeah.
And
then Lash Legend has the nerve to tweet something like, "Oh, so sad" or something. Like, brother, you did this. You said we need to go our own way.
Lash brought it on to themselves.
I don't understand this at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those storyline things where I cannot compute at all.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been saying that they have a lot of people on the roster and they have to do some changes. But to separate one of the most over stables, it doesn't really make sense to me.
Like, she's like, oh, Oro's been doing his thing in Evolve, so? Why does that have to factor in? Like, you could still, all four of you should be a group.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, I don't know anybody who wasn't looking forward to seeing Metaphor as a group come up to the main roster.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like right now they're all in different places storyline-wise that they want backstage. With Noam Dar coming back and winning the cup, maybe they want Lash Legend on the main roster. Maybe they want Jakara Jackson on the main roster. Who knows? But I don't understand any of that split at all. If they're 100% done, I would like to see Shaw Samuels return and do stuff with Noam Dar again. I thought they had good chemistry together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that happening. I was disappointed when he didn't make it to the NXT roster from NXT UK. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just very... that's one of those things that'll you'll look back on from years from now and be like, this is bull.
I agree. We'll see what happens.
After that, you had Tony D'Angelo come out, and he said that people keep asking if he expected what happened to him at Stand and Deliver to happen to him. And he said no. But he said that Stax always wanted to lead the family, and when Tony was out, Stax stepped up, and he showed the world why he can be and deserved to be the underboss. Mm-hmm. But Stax made mistakes. And then Stax showed up on the screen at the bridge, the Two Dimes Memorial Bridge. I assume it was the same bridge where they threw him off and got him into AEW. But Stax said that Tony's gotten soft and he can't lead them anymore. And Stax said that Tony doesn't know who he can trust anymore. And then security around him starts trying to attack Tony. And Tony took them out. And Tony said that if Stax wants to be the Don, come take it.
Oh, man. Talking about factions starting to separate.
For what reason? In what world? Why?
Because maybe they're getting ready for some releases.
When they did that at Stand and Deliver, man, that was like a knife through the gut. And then I won't be able to describe in words that Metaphor thing. Truly won't. If you could put that gif of that CM Punk fan crying on his return and make it about a sad thing instead of a happy thing,
mm-hmm.
That's what it is. That's literally the most ridiculous thing I've seen from NXT in years.
Yeah, I know you're taking this one pretty hard.
After that, Sol Ruka picked up the victory over Carmen Petrovic. Ashanti the Adonis got this match for Carmen, even though Carmen said she wasn't ready to have a match against Sol Ruca yet. I thought the match was fine, but for me, this was like Lexis King and Ricky Saints. You knew Sol Ruca was winning, and I feel like not much actually happened in the match. The aftermath is what was bigger, where Carmen was talking to Ashanti the Adonis. I guess he got pissed off maybe. He grabbed her. Not a great look for Ashanti the Adonis there. Mm-hmm. Carmen Petrovic knocks him out with a kick.
Yeah.
And then later on, Kalani Jordan spoke to Sol Ruca about how when she was North American champion, she defended the title every week. And she basically, I guess she told Sol Ruca she wants a title shot, put the title on the line. Zarya stepped up and said, if you want a shot at that championship, you have to beat me first. So next week we see Kalani Jordan versus Zarya. I assume Kalani Jordan will beat Zarya.
I could see that. I could see that happening. You know,
you had Hank and Tank pick up the victory over Josh Briggs and Inamura to retain the tag team championships.
I mean, this stemming from last week, where Inamura kind of roped his way.
He tricked Ava into getting that match. But I'm hoping he doesn't go back to Noah anytime soon because he's very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment where it became 2-on-1, and it looked like Inamura would win this match, but it was broken up. And a bit after that, Inamura accidentally knocked Josh Briggs down with Hank. I thought that was an interesting spot there, the way that they went about that. And that led to the end of the match.
Yeah. I think Hank and Tank definitely have a lot of, I don't know, fuel in their tank. That I think that their tag team, I want to see them have a long tag team reign.
Yeah, I never want to see a short reign. I want to see if someone's winning the title, I want the title to look better than it did to the previous
going in
holder.
Yeah, especially if
they have some big boots to fill there.
Yeah, but especially with them doing the gauntlet and stuff like that, they have a lot of they have legs to stand on for why they should be carrying it for so long.
Why don't you hit us with their catchphrase?
Oh no, I just forgot it. Honk honk?
It's honk honk, yeah. But next week we're gonna see the tag team champions team up with Joe Hendry to take on Dark State.
Did you just look at your door to make sure he didn't arrive?
I thought you were making a reference to Dark State showing up unannounced.
No, Joe Hendry.
This match, I don't know how it'll go.
Mm-hmm.
Given that he's the TNA champion, I feel like he should be the one. And them brand new champions, I feel like they should win this match. But
I think he's definitely going to win.
Against Dark State though, that's a very hard thing to pick.
I mean, you have to have somebody that's big enough to take on Dark State and to help out.
Unless next week is when we find out Trick Williams. But then he has that other match. I don't know. Well, maybe you could open with the Battle Royal. Trick wins, and then you find out later on that Trick Williams is with Dark State.
I mean, that's the only thing that you can have. You can have Trick being on one side, and then just at the end, just total turn. The only downside is that I would like to not. I mean, technically, you could have Trick get the win. And then turn after.
Well, yeah. Well, Trick is already a heel, though.
True.
But I'm saying you open with that Battle Royal, you have Trick win, and then you have the Dark State match with Joe Hendry and Hank and Tank.
Mm-hmm.
How do you have Joe Hendry lose, but you have Trick Williams show up?
That could
and
work.
then I don't know if that means you'll see Trick versus Joe Hendry at Under Siege. I don't know if May is too soon for that. If June you do Against All Odds. Slammiversary, I was hoping for John Cena, but I don't think that's happening.
I would have Joe Hendry win, though.
Yeah, Trick's not winning the TNA championship.
Exactly.
But I feel like that could if Trick Williams gets involved with that match to cost him the match against Dark State, you have to have Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry at one of those upcoming events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Under Siege, that's the same basic weekend as Battleground. So I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
After that, backstage, you had a Chase U segment. Classes in session. Andre Chase spoke to a new crop of students. You were included there. You were one of them. Uriah Connors.
I was really happy to be called in for sitting in front row for that one.
Uriah Connors and Kel Dixon showed up late, and then you narked on them, and Andre Chase yelled at you for that. So that was pretty funny.
Sometimes you gotta.
Yeah, I was very jealous.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I don't want to spoil the fun for you.
Main event saw Io Sky and Jordan Grace pick up the victory over Roxanne Perez and Giulia. I liked, first of all, that Corey Graves congratulated Meiko Satomura on her retirement before this match took place. The only person in this match that has not wrestled Meiko Satomura was Giulia, which I think is unfortunate. But this was a good match. I liked that senton that Io did off of Jordan's shoulders to Roxanne. They tried it again on the apron to Giulia, but Roxanne yanked Jordan Grace off the apron, which then led to Io getting hit on the top rope. So I liked that spot. That German suplex from Jordan Grace to Giulia, causing Giulia to hit a Northern Light suplex on Roxanne, I thought was absolutely awesome. The double stomp from Io with the gory bomb to Giulia, I thought was a nice thing. This was filled for a team that they've never teamed before. Io and Jordan Grace, they came into this match with tag move after tag move after tag move.
Mm-hmm.
That was very unexpected, and I appreciated this match for that.
I thought that they definitely brought their A game into it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Since you brought it up with Meiko, do you think with them releasing the YouTube videos and stuff like that, do you think that we're going to see her wrestle again soon?
No, I don't think Meiko's going to wrestle again. As
It's
much
so
as I
early.
wish that would be a thing, I don't think that. I would really like to see her get inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. I would like to see her. For years, I've been wanting her in the video games.
It's so early in the year, though.
What does that mean? She's not John Cena. That's not when people retire. Muta retired in January.
True. Okay.
But yeah,
true.
so she retired. I wish I could have seen her. But how do you not, maybe scheduling wise, but I don't see how you don't have her in the Royal Rumble. At least the Royal Rumble. But they have in that video that they uploaded, it's already on YouTube, but they added the her final match against Bayley in WWE in Japan that they did last year.
That's pretty cool for Bayley to say that final match was with her
In WWE.
in WWE. Yeah.
Yeah. But Jordan Grace and Giulia end up brawling their way up the ramp backstage. I assume backstage. They left the match. It left Io and Roxanne alone. And Io eventually hit the over the moonsault to win. I liked Io blocked Pop Rocks by backflipping away from it. I thought that was very interesting and unique. So Io won that match for the team against Roxanne Perez. And then Ava set a number one contender match between Jordynne Grace and Giulia for Battleground for that number one contendership for Stephanie Vicaire. With Giulia being on Monday Night Raw now, it's very hard to think that we're going to see Giulia versus Stephanie again. I feel like it has to be Jordynne Grace beating Giulia here. This is where it gets confusing, where you don't want Roxanne and Giulia to keep doing NXT stuff, but at the same time, Giulia's already done technically not everything that she could possibly do in NXT, but she's already won the championship.
Yeah, I think that we are going to get Jordynne Grace in there. I think if we had anything different, it would be too fast.
So we'll see what happens next week. We'll see what happens for that match at Battleground. That was NXT. Before I move over to SmackDown, WWE unfortunately released some people today. Always sucks seeing people get released. You have Shayna Baszler, Braun Strowman again, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, the only actual tag team in the women's division. Dakota Kai, which is very, very, very puzzling. Riley Osborne, Cora Jade, again, just used. Very puzzling. Eddie Thorpe has been in the main event scene on and off in NXT. Gigi Dolan was literally just on Monday Night Raw, was literally just on Stand and Deliver. Jakara Jackson. So forget everything I said before with Metaphor, and if that was their reason for the breakup, I have no idea, or if they broke them up because they knew they were doing this. I don't understand it at all. I truly don't understand that, especially with the women's division and the tag division especially. How do you not have Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson as a team? And then Gallus was also released, which is very unfortunate. I think they were just on Evolve. So I don't know if there's going to be more releases. I'm just going based off of obviously what's out there. If there are more, I hope there aren't. I will talk about it next week. I hope a bunch of them go to TNA. I think TNA could use Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Jakara Jackson. I think, and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance especially. All those women that got released, I think, could very much so go to TNA. And I just hopefully, I'm sure they're all going to land on their feet. So, but like I said, it sucks, especially before SmackDown. You see people that you like watching on TV, and then you have to go and watch SmackDown. So it's unfortunate, but SmackDown kicked off with LA Knight, and he spoke about wanting a rematch for the U.S. Championship. And then he was told that he'd have to become number one contender, and it didn't go his way because Solo Sikoa got involved. And then Jacob Fatu got involved, and he put the blame on Damian Priest. And Damian Priest came out, disagreed with what LA Knight said, and said that all he did was save LA Knight from being pinned. And then they went back and forth with digs at one another. Damian Priest eventually said that they should just have their match that was supposed to be the main event right then and there. And then Damian Priest beat LA Knight by disqualification. I thought the match was fine. I fully expected for Damian Priest to either just win or have a DQ victory there. LA Knight kicked out of the Razor's Edge. He reversed the South of Heaven. But it was Solo Sikoa eventually showing up like I expected, and he attacked Damian Priest. He went to attack LA Knight, but Damian Priest caught the Samoan spike before he could hit it. And LA Knight hit a BFT. Damian Priest went to chokeslam Solo through the commentary table. Jacob Fatu ran out. And they fought together. Backstage, Solo Sikoa opened his mouth, and got the singles match turned into a triple threat, and then it got turned into a fatal four-way with Drew McIntyre for Backlash. You had Fraxium pick up the victory over Pretty Deadly. This was another good match for Fraxium. Nathan Fraser unfortunately hit a standing shooting star press on Elton Prince, and Prince got busted the heck open. It seemed like it was supposed to be a 3 count right then and there, but I assume he was knocked loose. Knocked loopy, should I say? I don't know. But hopefully Elton Prince is okay. That gash looked pretty bad. You had Aleister Black pick up the victory over The Miz. I still can't get over that chain that Carmelo Hayes has with the Andre the Giant head on it, which I'm surprised. I mean, it was just announced the other week, but I would be surprised if WWE Shop didn't start selling those. But Aleister Black, that's going to maybe take a little bit. I hope I don't say that again. Aleister Black almost ended the match right away. And Miz pulls away from the Black Mass. They go on to have a good match. Miz had small advantages here and there with Carmelo Hayes out there causing distractions to Aleister Black. And Miz almost won off of a distraction. But Aleister Black hit a Black Mass to pick up that win. He and Carmelo Hayes then stared at one another. So I'm assuming we're going to see Carmelo Hayes versus Aleister Black, and I'm looking forward to that. After that, Zelina Vega picked up the victory over Piper Niven. They had a good segment with Chelsea Green and the Secret Harvest mourning the loss of the U.S. Championship earlier. But for a big versus small sort of match that they did here, I thought they did a good job with it. Chelsea Green got involved, and Zelina dodged Piper Niven, which caused Piper to accidentally knock Chelsea Green off the apron. I wish Zelina Vega had a win over Piper without the interference to help solidify her championship reign. But I get the outcome of that match. Randy Orton came out. He spoke about how John Cena took advantage of that PG era, and he did everything to be who he is, to be true to himself. John Cena, the only thing he cared about was the bottom line. Randy Orton was Randy Orton. It wasn't like, oh, let me get a new t-shirt every single week, a different color to sell into different cities. And he brought up the hustle, the loyalty, the respect. And he asked what happened to the loyalty and respect. I really liked that last line with Randy Orton where he said something where John Cena is just the latest legend that he has to put down. I thought that was a very, very good line. The segment afterwards with R-Truth and Randy Orton and then Jimmy Uso I thought was funny as well. Earlier in the night, we saw Santos Escobar speak to Fenix, and it sounded like he was about to put him over, but he just ran him down for losing to El Grande Americano at WrestleMania. And then Fenix told him to basically stay out of his business, and if he has a problem, I'll see you in the ring. So that match gets set up. Rey Fenix picks up the victory over Santos Escobar. This was a bit confusing to me because it was slow, but also fast at the same time. I literally can't describe it any other way. It was very different from other matches that we typically see from them. But Escobar kept trying to convince Phoenix to join him, all while they were going back chop for chop. I thought that was interesting. I liked Escobar catching Phoenix with the attempt for the Phantom Driver. And then he scooped him up. He pulled him up for one also. But he never hit that Phantom Driver. Phoenix ends up winning after a top rope Meteora. And then backstage, Santos Escobar yelled at Los Garza for not being out there with him. And Andrade walked up, maybe trying to calm Escobar down, but he said he doesn't like him. And he said that Escobar, he talks about the legacy, the respect, the honor, and they have the legacy, but there is no honor, there's no respect. It was kind of similar to what Randy Orton had just said. But Humberto, when Santos made them leave, he stuck around for a hot second. And then Escobar came back and he's like, I said, let's go now, basically. And then Humberto left with him. I don't know if we're going to end up seeing Andrade just get Los Garza on his side, or if we're going to see a split where Angel is with Santos Escobar and Andrade gets Humberto. I don't know. But it would be interesting. Previously, years ago at this point, back in 2020, we saw Andrade team with Angel Garza against Humberto Carrillo when Rey Mysterio was with Humberto. So it would be interesting to see if they switch with that. But so it would be interesting to see if they switch with that. Earlier in the night, we saw Nia Jax come out, and she said that she's been at home refocusing so she can take back what's hers, the Women's Championship. Then Tiffany Stratton came out and said that cashing in on Nia Jax was literally the best thing that she's ever done. After that, she went one-on-one at WrestleMania with Charlotte Flair. She beat Charlotte Flair, and if her and Nia Jax were to face off again one-on-one, she'd win. And Nia Jax was like, oh, is that a challenge? And Tiffany Stratton, walked that back real quick. She's like, I'll defend the title anywhere, against anyone, blah, 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 but I don't make the matches. And then Naomi came out and said that she took all the matters into her own hands with Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill came out, chased Naomi into the ring. That led to all four of them brawling. The faces took out the heels, and Jade Cargill stared Tiffany Stratton down after that. And then Nick Aldis came out and set up a tag team match for the main event. You saw Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill pick up the victory over Nia Jax and Naomi. This match started out like that segment that set the match up. The match itself, I thought, was actually probably one of Jade's better matches. At one point, Naomi tagged herself in, and right before Nia Jax hit a leg drop, Nia hits a leg drop. She was pissed off that the ref wasn't counting the pin. She realized that Naomi tagged herself in. Naomi goes for a split-legged moonsault. Tiffany Stratton gets her knees up. Jade Cargill gets the tag. She takes over the match for a bit. Nia Jax ends up dragging Naomi to the corner to tag herself in. Tiffany Stratton breaks up a pin with the Swanton. And then Nia squashed Tiffany Stratton and Naomi in the corner, and she kicked Naomi out of the ring. She squashed Jade Cargill in the corner. She sets up for the Annihilator. Jade Cargill got up, powerbombed Nia Jax to get that victory. And then after the match, Jade Cargill took the championship from the referee before giving it to Tiffany Stratton, but she wasn't letting go. Naomi ends up attacking Jade Cargill, which takes out Tiffany Stratton. And Naomi held up the championship. Nia Jax and Jade Cargill have a number one contenders match next week on SmackDown. Naomi has to surely fit into this somewhere. So we'll see what happens with that next week. Going back to those releases, Oro Mensah was also confirmed, which that goes back to what we were saying earlier with Metaphor. I do not understand it at all. I really don't get that at all. So that really sucks. That really, really sucks. So I'm going to take a quick break right now, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
He looks like a fan of Jericho. This is Markin Out, man!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out episode 743. Going back to AEW Collision from last week, I actually had to watch this on mute because the audio sounded like they were broadcasting from underwater. It was hurting my ears, so it's not ideal at all, but I had to watch it on mute. I don't know why AEW has audio issues constantly, but this was by far the worst that I've heard it. The first match was Swerve picking up the victory over Blake Christian. The Young Bucks actually opened the show and made this match be the opener. I don't care about this storyline. I don't care about someone beating Blake Christian in 2025. It does nothing for them. It doesn't do anything for Swerve. And if you're hunting the Young Bucks, hunt the Young Bucks. Don't go jumping through hoops. Why listen to them? After that match, you saw the Young Bucks. They slowly started walking towards the ring. instead of Swerve going up to the Bucks to hunt them, Lee Johnson attacked Swerve from behind, and Swerve took Lee Johnson out, and then the Young Bucks attacked Swerve. Omega made his way out and eventually took over, but I'll put a pin in Swerve for now. Toni Storm picked up the victory over Queen Aminata. I don't like that Queen Aminata only has 7 wins in a year span and only 1 in 2025. It was an entertaining match, but there's no storyline to it. Storm looked like she was vulnerable in this match. I don't know if I liked her looking like a vulnerable champion. I expected to see Serena Deeb. She wasn't part of this at all. You saw a Hologram pick up the victory over Max Caster. I saw Max Caster's promo on Twitter. I don't understand how people were actually chanting along with him. People did boo as well, but the fact that he had a crowd chanting that long chant, I was very, very surprised at. But this was just another random win for Hologram that ultimately means nothing. You had Crew pick up the victory over Top Flight in a tornado tag match. I think a few weeks ago, I said that this is start and stop, and it's been a few weeks since we've seen anything from them. But this match was super messy. It was definitely chaotic, which you would expect from a tornado tag. I don't know if the weapons necessarily made sense. They had a spot where they made the audience think they were about to use tacks, which you see that all the time now. And they poured it out to reveal Mardi Gras beads, which made me think maybe this match was supposed to take place 2 months ago, because Mardi Gras was literally 2 months ago at this point. Layla Gray stopped Leo Rush from using a chair at one point, but Action Andretti pushed Darius into her. She fell off the apron. And then Crew hit a bunch of moves on Darius to pick up that victory. You saw Anna Jay make her big return to pick up the victory over Taylor Gainey. This was done in under a minute. I have no idea if Anna Jay had been out injured or what, but she's been off TV for I think like 4 months. So it was nice to see Anna Jay back on TV. Penelope Ford showed up afterwards, which drew out Megan Bayne. And then Penelope Ford beat her down while Megan Bayne slowly walked to the ring and then eventually hit the F5 on Anna Jay. After that, you had Bandito pick up the victory over Dralistico to retain the championship. Dralistico has 0 meaningful victories in AEW. I had to look up what he's actually been doing in Ring of Honor to get this shot. I don't think there's been anything there. I think it's just go out there. You throw a dart at a dartboard and that's who you're wrestling. Storyline wise, I don't see how you can get invested in something like this. The match itself, very fast paced, but why can't you have LFI go out there and be LFI? Build them up as a trio, build them up as a tag. Why singles matches? I don't understand that. And then you have Roosh go out there and beat AR Fox, but like Blake Christian and like Dralistico. AR Fox in AEW, it's just eating pins and he never wins. Beating AR Fox does absolutely nothing for Roosh to me. Beating Blake Christian does absolutely nothing for whoever's beating Blake Christian. I say this over and over again. The only meaningful victory that AR Fox has in AEW was years ago. It's been years, and it wasn't even because of him. It was because of Swerve. Main event saw FTR pick up the victory over Paragon. I enjoy tag matches like this. I like their other 2 matches, despite some hiccups that they had in their matches. I wish they did more to establish Paragon before doing this match again. They renamed themselves a few weeks ago. We haven't seen them wrestle since mid-March. So, had they had some matches between then and this match, I think it would have made FTR's win bigger. And Stokely added absolutely nothing to this match. He really doesn't do anything. As far as managers go, it adds nothing to FTR. And then after the match, Adam Cole came out, and instead of jumping Adam Cole, They all just ran off when Daniel Garcia came out because he had a crowbar. And then Garcia cut a promo a lot like Swerve did the other week in regards to hunting the Young Bucks. But he'll be hunting FTR. Week after week. They're running the same storyline. And we're not even seeing Swerve hunting the Young Bucks. So that's Collision. Moving over to AEW Dynamite. It kicked off with the All-Star Tag Team match. The Elite and Ricochet picked up the victory over Mike Bailey, Mark Briscoe, Kenny Omega, and Kevin Knight. To me, this screams lazy booking. You combine different feuds that have no business being combined. To me, that's lazy. I also completely forgot at this point that Kenny Omega was the international champion. He just won it a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point. Swerve, like I said before, hunting the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are in this match, nowhere to be found. How could you be hunting if you're not there? You're not hunting, you're not there. As far as the match goes, they teased Omega versus Okada. Okada immediately tags out. That makes sense. That's a spot you would think would happen. And then all 4 members of the team ran in and beat Kenny Omega down in front of the referee. The referee did absolutely nothing about it. At one point, you saw Matt Jackson cheat in front of the referee's eyes, and the referee didn't care. The referee didn't care until Mark Briscoe tried to jump in to stop Matt Jackson from cheating. And that wasn't the only time that happened. It happened multiple times in the match. And then that spot turned into a comedy spot where Kenny fed Ricochet to Matt, and Matt thought it was Kenny, so Matt ends up doing the move to Ricochet. This was an indie wrestling match. I don't need to watch this on television. I understand that many people will find this entertaining, but when you combine all these storylines, that's lazy. You saw the Ops pick up the victory over Nick Comoroto, Rhett Titus, and Miles Hawkins. Rhett Titus continues to look like a joke in AEW, which is very unfortunate. Nick Comoroto hasn't been seen in months, where I could swear he was released via the internet reports. His only TV win in AEW was back in 2021. So every time the Ops have a match like this, to me, it does more harm for them than anything else. How is this setting up? Samoa Joe is going to be facing Jon Moxley. Here's Samoa Joe versus Nick Comoroto and Rhett Titus and Miles Hawkins. How is that setting Samoa Joe up to beat Jon Moxley? You had the Death Riders show up afterwards. They attack the Ops. Samoa Joe, though, again chokes out Jon Moxley. And then he releases the choke because he sees that Claudio's about to hit the neutralizer on that chair. And he hit the neutralizer on Shibata like he did to Hook. Joe cut a promo afterwards. He wants a cage match. I thought this was taking place at Double or Nothing. It's taking place 2 weeks in Beach Break. I believe it's in Chicago. After that, you had Toni Storm pick up the victory over Miyu Yameshita. It's been 3 years since Yameshita has wrestled in AEW. She's also wrestled a couple of times in Ring of Honor a few years ago, which they showed in a video package. Kudos to them. I feel like there could have been more to the video package, but you get an idea at least. Also, Yameshita, if you don't know, she recently fought Natalya at Bloodsport during WrestleMania week. I think I would have liked this match more had I believed that she could have actually beaten Toni Storm. It was what do they call them? Not a contenders match. I forget what they call them. But it was one of those matches where she could have easily gotten that win and then faced Toni Storm for that title. But obviously that's not happening. So if I could have believed that she was going to pull out the victory, it would have been better. You had Mercedes come out afterwards, and she said that after she wins the Owen tournament, she's coming for the women's championship as well. Jamie Hayter came out, slapped Mercedes to the ground, and then Mercedes ran off. The Hurt Business came out. They attacked some random people backstage earlier, like Lance Archer would do. And then Bobby Lashley, they call out MJF. Bobby Lashley voted no again. And MJF asked Lashley what he has to do to impress Bobby Lashley. Lashley backs him up into a corner. And he's like, we hurt people. I think MJF will eventually get that thumbs up, and we'll see him I have to assume we'll see him join the Hurt Business, take somebody out next week, and then we'll see him join the week after. And then at Double or Nothing, he's out of the group. He debuts a new group or something like that. So we'll see what happens with that. Nick Wayne picked up the victory over Jay Lethal to retain the championship. They're still running with Nick Wayne being the youngest singles champion in AEW history, despite it actually being Billy Starks, and that annoys me. But this match, it's a Ring of Honor TV championship match or whatever. Have it on Ring of Honor TV. They could have easily filled this up with another women's match. Don't need to see this match. Yet Hangman picked up the victory over Kyle Fletcher to advance into the finals of the Owen tournament. Hangman clotheslined Kyle Fletcher over the barricade at one point, and Kyle Fletcher scraped his back up pretty bad. So that was, I don't even know what he got cut on, but that was pretty crazy. Kyle Fletcher hit a very nice brainbuster on the apron at one point. Both of them had a few near falls. Hangman basically had the match won, but Fletcher shoved the referee, low blowed Hangman. I got real disappointed because I did not want to see Kyle Fletcher move on to the finals there. Don't need to see Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay ever again. But Hangman kicked out. He hit a buckshot from the top rope. He did a normal buckshot, picked up the victory. Hangman, I think, definitely needed that win. I hope Hangman goes on to beat Will Ospreay. I don't need to see Will Ospreay win the Owen. I need to see Hangman win the Owen. I was surprised Lance Archer was ringside, didn't get involved once. But thank God for that. And thank God that Hangman won. Even though I think it's ultimately leading to Will Ospreay winning the whole tournament and going to main event. All in, we saw him point to the sign in the crowd. It's been written there since day one if I'm not mistaken, even before this tournament. So it's unfortunate because I don't want to see Will Ospreay win. I want to see Hangman win the Owen Hart tournament. I just don't see that happening. So that's AEW Dynamite. Hey, Brandon, got any shout outs?
Hey, wow, this is Owen Wilson. You're listening to Brandon's Shoutouts.
The first shout out goes to North of North. Have you heard about this series? Probably not, maybe?
No.
It came out in Canada in January, but it just came out on Netflix here. Mm-hmm. Anna Lamb stars in it as a young Inuk mother who builds a new life after leaving her husband. It's set in the Arctic, and it's the first major TV show that they filmed in the Canadian Arctic.
Huh.
But it's a comedy. There's some romance sprinkled in, a lot of family moments, and they literally announced on Tuesday, I think it was, that it's renewed for season 2. So, which I would have been very surprised if it wasn't. It's just unfortunate that with that show, it'll probably air in Canada first, and then we'll still have to wait like they did with this season for Netflix. But I think it's a very good show. So if you have Netflix, check it out. And you like sitcoms, you like comedy or whatever. My next shout out goes to The Connors. They had their series finale air last week, truly closing a chapter of television. After 37 years. It started as Roseanne, which aired from 1988 to 1997. And then it was revived in 2018 for a 10th season. ABC canceled it due to those comments from Roseanne, but the show, they spun it off into The Connors. It ran from 2018 to 2025. For the most part, I still enjoyed the show. I still enjoyed the cast. I liked the guest stars.
How did they bring him back? Didn't he die in the final episode of Roseanne?
What they did, they made reference to the series finale, the original series finale and everything, so a lot of breaking of the fourth wall.
Interesting.
Which people thought they would have brought Roseanne back for this series finale, but that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. But like I was saying, I wish that some things were different. I think the final season could have been much better because it was only 6 episodes of television. I really wish that they ended up... Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know why it was like that, but I wish the storyline that they were telling this season, spoiler alert, I guess, they were finally maybe thinking about suing for Roseanne's death. Mm-hmm. And to me, I thought it was going to end up where, unlike the book and the pipe dream, I guess, that Roseanne had of her and the family being rich, I thought they were going to actually win a lawsuit and get money for her death and become rich. And I wish that they were loaded. I wish that was where the season finale was leading. It kind of fell flat. I liked the very, very end where they were all saying goodnight, and they had John Goodman, they had Dan look right into the camera and say goodnight. I thought that was a nice moment to close up all 37 years of history there.
It's cool that they did that.
Roseanne's a perfect sitcom. So I'm glad that we got more time with it. I understand completely when people were like, "Oh, this show sucks. I'm not a fan of the Connors, etc." Mm-hmm. But I still, like I said, I enjoyed the cast. I enjoyed most of the story. So I am happy that we got that final, I guess, chapter.
It was never for me. Even Roseanne, it was just never for me. Never was something I was interested in.
How not?
I don't know. It just never was entertained by it.
Well, my last shout out is going to concerts just in general, because this week, believe it or not, it's crazy for me to think this, was the 18-year anniversary of the first concert that I went to.
Jeez.
Which is
Who
really,
was it?
really
Beach
crazy.
Boys?
No, it was The Ventures with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It was Felix Cavalier's Rascals and Peter Noon from Herman's Hermits. And since then, I've been able to see some of the coolest concerts live. I've seen concerts in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Florida, the middle of the ocean on cruise ships. I've seen Billy Joel the most with 16 concerts, and then I saw him perform on Kimmel one time, so I've seen him live 17 times, I guess, technically.
Jeez.
I've seen Taylor Swift 11 times, but most of the concerts that I'm going to these days are free at Disney World. Free with an asterisk. You're still paying to be in Disney World. Mm-hmm. But I wish I can go to so many more concerts, and I think if you're able to go out and see your favorite artists. When I first started going to concerts, I was sometimes one of the youngest people in the crowd, because I was seeing musicians from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I've had musicians literally thank me for being there at my age. So, and some of the musicians that I've seen are unfortunately no longer living. So like I said, if you have a favorite musician, if you've never been to a concert before or whatever, and you enjoy music, I don't know who doesn't enjoy music. I know there are people out there who don't like concerts and don't care about going to concerts, but if one of your favorite musicians are out there and touring, go see them.
I think my last concert was seeing Fish. But there's so many concerts that I wish that I went to. Like, with your advice, I wish that I went to more concerts growing up. Like, I remember I was about to get tickets for Chuck Berry performing at Westbury Music Fair, and I just didn't. Mm-hmm. And looking back on it, I'm like, damn, it would have been so cool just to say that I saw Chuck Berry in concert. Especially at a venue like that.
I think Little Richard and Chuck Berry used to perform pretty often at B.B. King's in New York City. Mm-hmm. And I always, every single time they'd come around, I've always wanted to go. And at that time, I just wasn't going to concerts by myself. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, I never got to see them perform live. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have, but there are so many artists that I wish like Tom Petty, I wish I got to see. As far as before I started going to concerts, Johnny Cash I would have liked to have seen.
Where would you have seen Johnny Cash?
Well, it obviously would have had to have been when I was way younger, before I was going to concerts, but Westbury, he performed there pretty regularly.
Really?
I believe so.
Jeez.
I don't think, was I alive for Nassau Coliseum? I'm not 100% sure.
That's crazy. It's crazy how many people actually performed at
Westbury?
Westbury. I mean, Nassau Coliseum too. You know, so many people were coming around and stuff like that.
Nah, but Westbury's one of those, like, because now I see concerts get announced, like at Madison Square Garden, there's concerts that get announced. And I'm like, well, how is this not a Westbury concert? Or how is this not a Jones Beach show? And then there's shows at Jones Beach where I'm like, how is this not a Westbury concert?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, people were able to go to Westbury Music Fair and pay like $2 to see Bruce Springsteen. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, concert tickets have gone up way much in price.
I mean, the
So
prices are
understand
insane
if-
right now.
Yeah, and I understand if that's a reason why people aren't going to a concert, but you got the, I'm assuming Live Nation's going to be doing the Memorial Day sale again for Jones Beach and other venues. You get probably maybe $25 tickets, so...
I haven't even looked at what their concert series is at Jones Beach. Did they even announce it yet?
Yeah, I think it's pretty full for the most part.
I
They
haven't
have
even
Willie
seen-
Nelson playing there again with Bob Dylan. I don't know who else is on
It seems
that
like
tour.
your typical... I just pulled it up. It's like your typical lineup. Keith Urban's pretty cool. Dave Matthews Band, Halsey, Luke Bryan, Beach Boys.
The show that just got announced was Wiz Khalifa and Sean Paul. I was surprised to see that Sean Paul was a co-headliner of that tour, but I think that's awesome that Sean Paul's performing there. I wish I can go see that. Creed, I know, is performing there again. I would like to see that.
Willie Nelson,
Yeah, like
Bob
I said.
Dylan.
Which I went last year. I went to that Outlaw Festival, and Willie Nelson got sick, and he couldn't perform.
That stinks. I would definitely go see the Offspring.
He just turned 92 this week, by the way.
Wow.
And that Offspring show should be dope, too, because Jimmy Eat World is with them.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's a band that I've never seen, but I always wanted to see is the Offspring.
I've seen the Offspring twice now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Jimmy Eat World.
I don't really have a need to see Jimmy Eat World. I feel like, are they going to announce more concerts? I feel like this isn't all too many.
This is a lot of concerts. What are you talking about?
Is it? Well, I guess it's true. You can't have it every single day of the week.
This is a lot of
You know?
concerts.
Yeah. Very true.
I
Very
think
true.
there's
Yeah.
I think there's even an October show there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it goes down to October 22nd.
Who's that show? Because that's a crazy.
Pierce the Veil.
Yeah, that's a very, very crazy. For a venue on the water, that close to November is very crazy.
I'm not familiar with Pierce the Veil.
Famous band.
I guess so.
But yeah, that's
They're in
not
concert.
That's not typically a band I would want to ever see. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so go out if you're able to. Go out and see concerts and listen to live music. Support the artists. Maybe they'll support you. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll
talking
have
about
cool
supporting
merchandise.
ProWrestlingTees.com/markingout. Buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, so those are my shout outs. Now it's time for
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. I have to say, from TNA Rebellion, the Rascals and Ace Austin had Sean Waltman with them as a manager for their match. And Zachary Wentz wore X-Pac gear, which I'm pretty sure we've seen him in gear like that before. Trey Miguel wore Road Dogg tights. I thought that was pretty cool. And then Ace Austin wore Billy Gunn gear. X-Pac also ended up hitting Alicia Edwards with an X Factor in that segment.
I like the setup into that.
Yeah. That was really cool to see X-Pac there.
Yeah, I thought that was
Have any other
cool thing.
Any mark out moments?
let's see.
Did you
I
mark
don't-
out when you found out that Pierce the Veil was performing at Jones Beach?
Oh, dude, such a fan.
By the way,
Such
speaking of
a-
Jones Beach, I will say Cyndi Lauper, she's performing. This is her final tour. She's getting inducted. They finally announced to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been sooner than this year, but hopefully WWE soon for her.
It's possible. It's very possible. I did mark out for Sol Ruca being on Busted Open, listening to her interview with Bully Ray. Very
Holding back tears.
Yeah, very insightful to learn more about her and everything that she went through and stuff like that. And she's very interesting. I would have never pictured her as not being a surfer, considering that when she first came in, I thought that she was definitely a surfer.
She's not a
Apparently,
surfer?
nope. Apparently, doesn't even know how.
What? In what world? What?
Yeah. Apparently, she doesn't even know how to surf.
Nobody told Darby.
Crazy.
That.
Yeah, no clue how to surf. Apparently, her dad was a famous musician too. He was in a
Famous
band.
musician?
Yeah, apparently, what is it? Fishbone. It was. I think it's a ska band, but I'm not too familiar with it. But apparently, he always went on tour with them. Bully Ray knew exactly who they were. Apparently, her dad was in that band. So, and apparently,
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's the thing. It sounds familiar, but yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I wonder if Fishbone, were they like one of the early ska bands?
It's very possible.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I marked out for that stuff.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Markin Out episode 743. You can check us out on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms. Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney85, David PTDPT, Facebook.com/Markin Out, YouTube and Instagram, Markin Out 11, ProWrestlingTees.com/Markin Out. You can follow us at Markin Out on TikTok. You could rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, markinout.com, and we wish you the best
of luck in your
of luck
future
in your
endeavors.
future endeavors. Have a fantastic week.